Buying a home? Don't panic. Just listen to the rest of this podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Home Inspection Authority's Straight Talk Podcast with me, John LaForme. I'm a CREA certified home inspector from Los Angeles, California, and the topics we discuss on this podcast are about buying homes, selling homes, inspecting homes. So if you're a home inspector, home buyer, real estate professional, this podcast is definitely for you. So let's get into some straight talk about home inspections. All right, everybody, we're back again, and this time we have a repeat customer. We have Robert Deyl here. Robert Deyl was part of episode 4 way back in September of 21.
It's great to be back, John.
It seems like forever ago when you were here on the last one. And as you can see, I redesigned the podcast studio.
It looks great in here.
I remember last time you were here, it was a little awkward and uncomfortable, and I had the wrong mic for you, actually.
Yeah, this is a real nice setup you got now.
Yeah, so things are much more comfortable now, and welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
So you got a busy schedule?
Got a couple of things going on. Staying busy for sure, always.
Yeah, you're always busy. Every time I try to refer you a job, it's you got to juggle things around. I noticed.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to keep up with. I feel like plumbing is definitely in demand, and if you do a good job, that it's just going to keep going.
Right. And by the way, everybody, this is what Robert looks like without a hat on. This is my first time seeing him without a hat. So he does actually have hair. So today I want to talk about water supply pipe.
Okay.
Water supply pipe comes in many different types.
Yes.
And people always have questions. Well, what's the difference between this one? What's the difference between that one? I'm talking about my customers.
Right.
I tell them, you get copper pipe. Great, yay, okay, awesome. It's what I want to tell them. But then when I go, not so great, it's type M.
Right.
Well, what's the difference? Well, the thickness. So I got to explain stuff like that. Or maybe I tell them they have PEX and they kind of go, I don't know a lot about that. Why'd they use plastic pipe in my house?
Right.
So I think a lot of my customers think plastic means cheap.
Right.
They kind of associate plastic being cheap.
Right.
I understand that. I mean, as a consumer, I could see that if I didn't know anything about plumbing and you told me, well, there's copper or there's PVC, which is plastic. I probably would have said, give me the copper.
Right.
But that's just me. So let's get into that a little bit. What would you say to a customer when they gave you that funny look, when you told them, hey, you know what, you got PEX or a copper or whatever?
I would say that, the copper has gotten so expensive that, PEX came out as a less expensive alternative. And it's approved material. It's approved by the UPC, which is the Uniform Plumbing Code, which is the standard.
Right.
And it's gotten more and more popular because it's less expensive to, build houses with it and do remodeling. And, it's driving the cost down on projects, and faster installation times brings the labor down as well. So it's gotten, very popular. It has, its ups and downs, just like copper. Copper also has its ups and downs and things that can harm it.
We're going to get into that in a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So really nothing's, 100%. Like there's ups and downs to both sides. But overall, in my opinion, it is a good material, and it's definitely much better to have, a new PEX piping than something like old galvanized would be, a lot worse.
So. Yeah, that's true. And, just so all you home buyers out there, especially if you're looking at brand new construction, chances are it's going to have PEX. I see it a lot. I see it in brand new construction. I see it in remodels. Honestly, I don't see it leaking. Like when I see PEX, I don't find leaks.
Right.
I don't think I've found a PEX leak yet.
Right. Yeah. It's rare. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, you could find like a pinhole leak if a builder like drove a nail through it or something like that.
Right.
But for the most part, yeah, it's pretty durable material.
Yeah,
for sure.
The biggest problem I see with PEX is the guy who installed it.
Right.
Sloppy.
Right. That's one thing I've noticed a lot is if I go work under a house, that was built in the 50s and it has, original plumbing, all the pipes are perfectly straight and level and plumb, and it looks like someone took the time and they did a really good job. And this is, in the 50s when we didn't have cordless drills and cordless saws, and the material they were working with was a lot heavier.
That's a good point.
And things were done properly. And now here we are with all this plastic pipe and fancy power tools, and now the workmanship has just gone downhill.
Yeah,
people are just slapping stuff in and just cutting corners.
The lazy generation.
Yes,
people have gotten lazier. I'll be honest. I'm getting older. I'm getting a little lazier too. But these young guys, like Robert just said, just all the power tools we got. I mean, there's so many cool tools out there.
Right.
I mean, wow. I mean, I see some stuff on YouTube when I watch YouTube stuff, and I'm like, wow, man, I didn't even know that existed. That is some awesome shit, So I was like, wow, okay, but let's we got some good specimens on the desk here today. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to start off with the most common thing, and that would be the copper.
Yes.
So why don't you grab that M copper right there?
Okay, yeah, this is a type M copper. M is in Mary.
Yep.
And how we identify that is it'll say type M on it, but also it has a red stripe on it. So the red stripe is an indicator that it's M, which is the thinnest material. So the M gives a rating on the thickness of the inside wall of the copper.
Right.
And this is the thinnest, least expensive version.
Right. Let me see that. So home inspectors, if you're not familiar with how to identify this, as Robert just said, the red stripe. So whenever I'm under a house or in an attic, wherever I can see copper, I'm always looking for this indicator, whether it's red or blue. You want to grab the type L. So we get type L here
this
too.
Is the type L, much thicker pipe wall here. And you can just feel the weight right away. It's a lot heavier than the type M. But yeah, there's the blue stripe that goes with the type L.
Right.
Copper.
Exactly. Let me see that one there. So let's see, you might be able to see this. I'll put this in front of the camera. Might be hard to see from there, but I'll do a tighter shot of that later. But anyway, so these are the most common types of copper we're going to find. I have seen type K.
Oh, really? In like a residential setting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I scratched my head going, what's that say on a K? Is that a K?
And yeah, type K has the green lettering on it.
That's a medical grade.
Yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of green to get it. Yeah. It's the thickest version.
Wait a minute. I think there was dollar signs on it when I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very thick pipe.
Right. Usually I can't remember seeing it myself, even in a residential setting.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the thickest version. I
saw it once. So the guy who bought that house was standing on his wallet when he ordered his piping. Yeah. Obviously he had a lot of money to spend because that's going to be expensive. Do you happen to know the price per foot on this stuff?
I know right now the type L is probably about $5.50 a foot.
Okay.
Which is pretty expensive. 10-foot stick, about $55, could even be a hair more.
Wow.
The type M, I would think it's probably around, $35 or $40 for a 10-foot stick.
Okay.
And it used to be, with the inflation we have now and supply chain issues, it probably like a year and a half ago, the type L was like $35 for a 10-foot,
okay.
and the M was probably $20 for a 10-foot.
Right,
so stuff's gone way up recently.
Yeah. I have a neighbor a few doors down, and they just remodeled their whole place. And one day I'm standing outside the garage there, and their contractor sees me, and he starts talking to me. I'm pretty sure the guy was drunk.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was drunk. He looked like I might have hit a few before he started talking to me. It was the end of the day. So yeah, he's probably had a few beers by now. So he had a really bad broken English and I was having a hard time understanding, but he was like inviting me in to look. So he like, hey, come check out what I'm doing. He wanted to show me his work.
Yeah.
And overall, the interior, the remodel looked nice. But then I saw some Type M laying on the floor.
I see.
And I was like, oh, you didn't. I was like, you shortchanged him. Did they know you're using Type M? He didn't know. He had a hard time understanding what I was trying to say. His English wasn't great, but it was pretty funny. And I saw the Type M sitting there.
Right. Yeah. I'm always going for the Type L on the hot and cold water piping. The situations where I do use the Type M, the thinner one, would be a drain line on a water heater, the relief line drain, because it's not under pressure unless the thing's discharging, which is pretty rare, and it's just in a drainage application mainly.
Right. So people who don't know out there, this is pressurized pipe. So with pressurized pipe, coming in from the street can be anywhere from 140 to 160, maybe 200 sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I think maybe the most I've seen is like 175 PSI around there.
Pounds per square inch. Yep. That's
I would say most common, probably be like 125, probably from the street.
Yeah. So, because of that, because there's so much pressure coming from the street, we have to use what's called a water pressure regulator.
Yes.
And that's right here. And this guy is pretty heavy. See how long I can hold it here. It's like a workout. It's a shoulder workout for the front delts.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a water regulator. And as a home inspector, what I like to do when I show up at a property, one of the first things I check is water pressure.
Yes, very important.
And the reason I do that is because it just lets me know, first of all, hey, well, what is the reading? First of all, what's the reading? Is it above 75? Right. And my rule of thumb is if it is above 75, I make a note. There's regulator needs to be checked because it's rated. The range is 25 to 75 on these labels.
Right.
So the old I say, what's the word I'm looking for? The old standard is, it's 80 PSI. Everybody always says 80.
Right.
I understand. It's a little bit higher than 75. But you got to ask yourself, well, who told you it's 80? Where'd you get that information from? Right. So what we all get in the habit of doing is just listening to what the other guy said, what our buddy said, or our old boss said. Well, I try to look into stuff a little bit when I can, and it got me looking at these labels a lot. Because everyone's saying this, everyone's saying this guy says this plumber says that. So at the end of the day, the manufacturer is most likely going to know what their product should be rated for.
Right.
So that's why I look at the label on here, and that label clearly states the range 25 to 75. It shows you the max PSI that can come into this valve too, which is like 300 on this one.
Right.
So that I like to start knowing exactly what the pressure is when I'm inspecting a house. So if I see it way over 100, or even if it's in 90 or higher, then I'm going to be really looking closely on the inside of the house for evidence of running toilets, faucets leaking or dripping, potential plumbing leaks already happening, like maybe inside a wall. I know I can't see inside of a wall, but you got to pay close attention when you're looking in cabinets and for staining. And I've seen bad regulators. I'm talking 160 to 200. I've seen pressure at houses on all the hose bibs.
Right.
So I know the entire house had way too high of pressure. And I called the listing. I said, you need to get a plumber here today because you may have a major pipe break here that could happen at any moment. And there was evidence of leaking all over the house. The water pressure TPR, pouring water.
Nice.
It was a mess. The house had staining everywhere. There's probably leaks inside the wall and stuff like that. What's your experience with that?
So just to kind of touch bases a little deeper on the regulator. Like we said before, a lot of times the water, coming from the city is 125 PSI. And then what happens is the water from the city will go through the regulator And then when it comes out the other side, it's supposed to be, under 75 PSI is what the tag says, the highest rating on here.
So it reduces it down.
It reduces the pressure down. The reason is all the plumbing fixtures inside your home were only designed to handle less than 80 PSI. So all your faucets, shower valve, toilet fill valve, washer machine, dishwasher, everything in the house, it has inexpensive plastic parts and rubber gaskets. They can't handle high pressure over 80 PSI. Or if the pressure goes over 80, the problems that start to happen, you get runny toilets, drippy faucets. There could be an old water supply line under a sink with rust on it. It could be a greater risk to, explode and have water damage. Also puts extra wear and tear on the piping. You can get strange sounds and noises. So when you have high pressure going into the home, it's like having high blood pressure on your body, where you would get weird side effects and things like that.
Symptoms, yep.
Yeah, so it's very important to have a working regulator, protect the plumbing and the plumbing fixtures in your home.
I've also seen on some houses where the pressure relief valve at the water main is dripping.
Yeah, so that's an indicator. In a lot of cases, for it to be code after the regulator, there's supposed to be a relief valve. Yeah. Where if the pressure went over 150 PSI, it would start dripping, and that would be an indicator that the regulator has failed. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. Yeah.
But let's discuss the reality of that. Most people don't put those valves in; they put hose bibs in.
Yeah, a lot of times exactly. I mean, sometimes you don't see them at all if someone kind of reconstructed the piping at the front of the house and didn't really know.
That's
what they
something
were doing.
I write up pretty regularly at older
relief
houses.
Valve on
no
the
relief
exterior.
valve. No relief valve in sight. Or I've actually caught it where it's before the regulator.
I see, where they did it backwards.
Yeah, so that's the reality of what I find.
Yeah, so regulators, very, very important thing, and it's a very common problem to come up in home inspection reports. I would say they usually only last between 5 and 7 years before they, have to be changed out, and you have to get a new one. Okay. Because the parts inside of it do wear out over time with the high pressure from the city.
You mean there's something that was made by man that wears out? Really? Guys, everybody watching and listening, everything has an end date.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe that PEX doesn't. We don't know that yet, but maybe the PEX pipe doesn't. But this stuff here definitely does. And can you get into detail on the adjustment on that?
Yes. So when you install this, what you want to do is you want to hook up a water pressure test gauge downstream of the meter or the regulator, excuse me. And you want to turn on the test gauge. Usually when these are fresh out of the box, they'll show around 50 PSI is what it's down. I like to crank them up a little more so the customer's not complaining about low water pressure. So I always try to set them around 65 PSI, around 65, 67 PSI is the sweet spot. So how you do that is you have your test gauge on this side, and then there's a set screw here. You loosen the set screw here, and then the bolt on the top, you tighten it clockwise. So by tightening it, you increase the pressure. Okay. So tighten it down brings the pressure up. But you kind of go slowly and gradually and watch your gauge as you're doing it. Now, one thing that's very important to know is you only want to really adjust these when they're being installed new.
Aha.
So I see that a lot in home inspection reports, not from John's, but I've seen other reports where
not from John's. Make a note of that. Not from me.
The regulator is obviously like 10 years old or older, and the inspector on his notes is recommending that the regulator be adjusted, and that's not really a proper recommendation because we cannot. If you go back and you try to adjust pressure on a really old regulator, chances are you're just going to break it and make things worse. It's not the parts on the inside at that point from sitting in place long term, they're frozen. And if you try to adjust it, you're just going to make things worse. So really the adjusting is on the first installation. You set it and forget it. Okay. And then if you're taking a reading many years down the road and it's showing over 75 PSI, it means the regulator's gone bad and you have to replace it.
All right. You just brought up a really good point. A really good home inspector point. So I want to get into that a little bit. Now, let me explain why what Robert just explained about another home inspector saying it needs to be adjusted. Okay, that is something he should not have wrote in his report, and I'll tell you why. First of all, how does he know if the valve has failed or not? He doesn't know that, so he should not be saying that it just needs adjustment. Because guess what? If he says it only needs adjustment, and then the plumber comes out and tries to adjust it, and it doesn't work, oh, it's failed.
Right.
Guess that home inspector is probably going to get a phone call to pay for that.
And then also it kind of confuses, the realtor and the buyer. They think it just needs a simple adjustment.
Yeah.
And then I come along and say, oh no, it needs replacement. And it kind of takes their breath away. They weren't expecting that.
Right. So guys, don't say that no more. Just say water regulator needs further evaluation. And then I always take a picture of the pressure gauge when I'm testing the pressure with my gauge. So I just put that in my report to show where it's at when I was there. And then like I said, to me, if it's above 75, I call it out. I don't wait till 80 or 90 to call it out. I call it out if it's anywhere above 75, only because that's what it says.
Yeah, that's exactly what the tag says.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah. Is it worth?
Yeah, you're not going to see that. It's really fine print, but I'll take a picture of it and I'll put it in the video version of this podcast so everybody can see that. So that's the best way to report it, guys. If you're reporting this stuff as a home inspector, anything above 75, just call it out. Or don't, if you haven't already, just take a look at these tags. It's a little habit I have now. I always look at these tags because on much bigger houses, it might be different. There's valves come in different sizes. So this one here is basically an average size regulator for a standard size home.
This is the 1-inch model 600, Wilkins 600, a very common regulator because in a lot of cases, a normal size home, a 3 or 2.
And that's a 1-inch in pipe,
exactly.
Right?
It'll be a 1-inch pipe coming from the meter. So a lot of times you'll have a 1-inch regulator and then it'll go into the house after that point.
Yeah, I'm glad we cleared that up because there is a lot of confusing information about regulators out there.
Right.
It depends on who you ask, is what answer you're going to get. And I'm telling you, if I put 5 different people in a room, I'm going to get probably 4 different answers.
Right.
So I'm glad we covered that. Thank you for that. Thanks for clearing that up. And that little point you made about another home inspector, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have thought of mentioning that.
Right. And that's always a weird conversation when they're expecting an adjustment and it really should be replaced.
So you adjust them when you put them in. The takeaway from this is you adjust them when you put them in.
And you set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. And you said the sweet spot was about 67?
Around 65, 67 PSI is what I aim for, right around there. But here's another thing. So you can set it as high as 75 PSI, but I don't recommend it. I've seen situations where we try to max these things out, get 75 PSI. And my opinion is that when you do that, you kind of push this thing to its limit and they wear out faster. And I've talked to a good friend of mine's, a plumber with 20 years experience. And I brought that up with him too. I said, hey, when we crank these things down to get max pressure out of them, you think they wear out quicker? And he says, yes. So between my experience and his too, we always set them around 65, 67 PSI. And I think it just gives a little leeway in the capacity of the unit and makes it last longer.
Right. Okay. Now I'm going to talk to you as a homeowner for a second. Robert, my water pressure in my shower sucks. What did you do to my system when you put that new regulator in? Oh, well, ma'am, you also, hang on. Yeah. I'll be you now. Yeah. Well, ma'am. So basically the shower heads that are sold nowadays, they have these restrictors in them.
Yes.
And I actually had Robert drill out mine in my own shower a couple of years ago. And because once again, it's the pressure, your water pressure could be good. It could be set properly at your regulator, but all these water conservation fixtures that come out nowadays here in California, they're a bit ridiculous. And there's no water pressure at my shower. Technically, there is good water pressure at your shower. It's the shower head restricting the flow. So you can do things to do that if it really bothers you. So my customers, how's the water pressure? What that means is what's it like coming out of the shower?
Right.
That's the only thing that means when a customer says that. They're not concerned about what's coming in from the street because they don't know that part. They only want to know what's going to hit them on the head when they get in the shower. Is it going to be a lot of, I want high water pressure. I want this. I understand. But a common misconception is it's, one means the other. Yeah.
I've gotten into it with a lot of customers about, the water pressure coming out of their shower. And and how this will come up is their regulator at their house will be broken. So they're getting like over 100 pounds of pressure going in the house. And then I'll bring it up to them like, hey, we need to put a regulator on and bring it back down to like 65 PSI. And they're just like fighting me tooth and nail. They're like, oh no, I want my shower. It needs to be water coming out quick and a lot of pressure. But in a lot of those cases, I've ended up putting the regulator on and then I'll take the customer to the shower and turn it on and they don't even notice a difference. They say, oh, I don't even notice. Okay. So they were really just fighting me for nothing. I'm sure you can notice a subtle difference. But in reality, when these homes are built, they're designed to work under 80 pounds of pressure, So the fact the regulator went out and now you're getting more pressure, you got used to it. It's kind of too bad. You need to keep it in a safe zone, about 65 pounds, protect everything.
Yep. I'm telling you, you gotta really get this done on your house if you haven't already. Go out, just go to Home Depot and if you already own a home or you're already living in a home, just go out and buy a little cheap gauge. They sell them at Home Depot.
Yeah, they sell them at Home Depot, Amazon. They're like $10 probably.
Find a pipe that's coming right out. The best recommendation I'll give as to what hose bib to do it on is one that's coming directly out of the wall of the house.
Exactly.
That'd be the best spot. If you find one that's away from the house that you use to water the grass, that may be on street pressure.
If it's coming out of the ground, it could be from the irrigation side.
Yeah.
And it could be unregulated. But if it's coming out of like the side wall of a house or the back wall of a house, it's probably connected to all the water piping under the house, which should be regulated. So that'd be a good place to check from.
Right.
And test gauge it just threads right onto the hose spigot and you turn it on and it'll tell you how many PSI you have. And you just want to be under 80 or, under 75 is preferred.
And the reason why you really want to make sure your water pressure is under control is because I have seen major leaks and major water damage problems because of this. You do not want that. That is an expensive, huge inconvenience for you. You may have to move furniture. You may have to let mold remediators come in and open up all your walls to get to the source of the leak. I've seen some disasters because of regulators. Trust me, you want to make sure you stay on top of this.
Yeah, good, very good advice.
Yeah. So, all right, okay, Robert. So let's get into the Type M, Type L copper a little bit more, because the Type M tends to pit because it's a thinner pipe. So pitting means it's going to turn into a pinhole leak. Correct?
Yes.
Go ahead and explain that a bit more.
So, eventually, because the Type M with the red stripe is a thinner copper, you're at a greater risk to eventually get a pinhole leak. Just on the inside of the pipe, the calcium deposits and things over time kind of can eat away at the pipe. And then definitely more of a serious issue is the improper strapping we find, under people's houses, which put the copper in direct contact with galvanized steel. So what we mean by that is, and we see this kind of all the time, this is a galvanized steel plumber's tape.
Yep.
And a lot of times we'll see it, hanging under the house and someone put a galvanized strap on it. And if you didn't know any better, you would think, what's the problem with that? The problem is these are two dissimilar metals that do not like each other. And as soon as you put them in contact with each other, a process called electrolysis takes over, and the two dissimilar metals will start to eat at each other and cause, advanced corrosion, to start. And the corrosion will start to break down the copper pipe. It'll start to change color. It'll darken, even turn black.
Oh, you know what? I got a picture of that.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, we'll see, real heavy corrosion and blackening of the pipe, and then leaks will start to develop.
Okay, so this is what we're talking about. This is what a discolored pipe looks like. And this is a house that you and I were both under.
Yes.
About maybe a month and a half ago. It's like, wow, is that black steel gas pipe? Nope.
Right. No, that's a copper pipe that used to be a copper color. And then when the electrolysis takes over, it turns black like that. It gets very thin and brittle, and you're at a much greater risk for a leak. It's almost, I kind of think of it as the piping now has cancer. It just kind of spreads throughout the system, and it's going to fail for sure.
Yep. And let's see, got another shot here. So right here, they actually have a decent strap on this one. That's the plastic one you have.
That's a plastic version, which is good. It's not going to cause any corrosion or anything.
There's no metal in that, so there's no dissimilar metal issue. But look how black that pipe is.
Right. So when I see it like that, I know somewhere in the system it's got to be in contact with galvanized.
Right. And another thing that I've noticed that causes that, even I can't confirm this, but I would assume even the older homes with the metal conduit for electrical.
Oh, where they ground it?
What is it? Where it's laying on the pipe.
Oh, just in contact. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I see that.
So that there could be another cause of it.
That's a big one. Electrical. Yeah, the metal conduit laying on the copper.
Okay, let me see. I gotta see right here.
And then also
laying right on the copper.
The hangers. That's unprotected pipe hangers. So that's another big thing we see is they make these steel hangers, which are designed to be hammered into the wood under the house, and then the piping is rested in the hanger like this to support it underneath. Now, they thought about this by incorporating this black protection. So there's
rubber. It looks
black rubber.
Yeah.
So there is a barrier between, the dissimilar metals. But over time, rubbing, just friction from the water running through the pipe, it'll break down this black barrier, and then now you're going to have two dissimilar metals touching each other. Yeah. So the best way to do it is, this is called plumber's felt. So you put a piece of felt over the copper pipe first, and then you install the hanger so that you have an added layer of protection. And when you have it set like that under the house, that's going to basically outlast everyone's lifetime.
So that's probably your signature. So if I go under a house and I see that, I know Robert was there.
Yeah, this is definitely the best way to do it for long term, to protect the copper.
Nice. And that's the difference, people, between hiring a professional and a hack.
Right.
A hack is just going to throw that stuff in, minimal supports. I mean, I can honestly say I don't typically see great support on drain or water supply pipe on remodels. There's like minimal supports.
Right.
And on a copper pipe, according to code, is there a specific distance between each hanger?
Every 6 feet.
On supply pipe?
Yeah, on water. Yeah, on copper.
Every 6 feet.
Yes.
And on drain pipe, it's what? Is it 4 feet?
It's every 4 feet.
Yeah. Okay. So there is a standard that all these plumbers should be following, and most don't.
Yes.
Most of the stuff I see is just not right. So my point on this photo, once again, was this electrical conduit inside that silver corrugated metal right there is wiring for the house.
Yeah, right up against the...
Yeah, and you can see all the corrosion right at that joint. So that could be caused by that. It's hard to say. But as Robert pointed out, there's hangers with no rubber on that hanger either.
Yeah, exactly. No protection on those hangers. Right. The felt is the best, but if you could at least they make 10 mil tape.
And right there.
Yeah, that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
And all you need is one spot in the system in contact with galvanized like that, and it can ruin everything. So it's people think that, it's just going to affect the pipe in that area, but no, the electrolysis travels, like cancer through the system, and it could.
Right. You want to hand me that piece of galvanized there? Now this pipe here is typically what's been upgraded. So this was in the house. This is, what years would you say that we typically find this?
In the homes built in the 50s, I would say most common.
Most
in 50s before and even a little after, I would say there's going to be galvanized.
Yeah, I think it goes a bit higher than that. I think I would say it's
maybe
kind of
late 60s.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it in some 70s houses too, where it's been upgraded. Okay. So I think it's gone. I think it's stretched out pretty far on that. But anyway, if you see inside the end of the pipe, that's all rust and corrosion buildup. So these pipes, what they do is they corrode from the inside. And they just fill up with rust. So this was once, a long time ago, a 3/4 inch pipe. And now it's probably the size of a 1/2 inch on the inside.
Right.
Or less. So you can see inside here too. But anyway, so this is galvanized steel. How do we know? Well, put a magnet on it. I forgot to bring one up to the podcast here. But this is, if I see this painted, I can't tell what it is. Knocking on it's not going to tell me. Sure, I could scratch it with my screwdriver, I guess. But I just carry a magnet with me. Actually, you know what? I do have my magnet right here. Okay. This is how I do it. I grab one of these. And bam.
There you go.
So if I have any like, I'm not sure, if I'm scratching my head going, what kind of pipe is that? Because a lot of times pipes sticking out of the wall of a house are painted.
Right.
And you may see copper right here. And like, oh, yeah, but that pipe looks a little different. These types of elbows will also give it away.
Right. Good. And you can see a little bit of thread at the end.
You see a little bit of thread. You see these elbows right here. So there's a lot of indicators. But if you're a new home inspector, this can trick you if it's painted. So carry one of these. They sell these at Home Depot. You have a whole box of them. And just keep one in your pocket, or I keep mine in my camera bag, so it's handy. Because I might be in an attic, same thing. Sometimes I can't tell because something's discolored, and I don't like guessing. This is not a guessing game when you're inspecting a house. You just want to get as many facts as you can. So this is my way of telling. This is not going to stick to that.
Right.
It sticks to this plumber's tape. So that's how you can tell, guys. But anyway, this is what was in a lot of houses, older homes. And this was removed to put either this or this in place. Now, the reason why I want to get into this is because a lot of times this is left under the house. They don't cut it out. It's still hanging there.
Right.
And then they take one of these and they go like this.
Right.
Or they go like this. I see it all the time. And this is why these pipes are getting discolored and pitted and corroded, is because there's too much contact with the similar metals.
Right.
So this is a daily thing for me to find. I could literally see this 4 times a week.
Yeah, I see it all the time too.
Under a remodeled house. So if you're having your house repiped, tell your plumber to remove all of your old galvanized. Tell them to get rid of it. If you have to pay extra, it's worth it. Just tell them to cut it out and throw it away.
Yeah.
It's real easy to cut. I just cut a piece of this morning with a Sawzall and a metal blade. I was through that in less than 30 seconds.
Right.
So it's real easy to do. Any other tips you want to tell people about this stuff?
I think you kind of, hit everything. It's kind of in an older home. The first thing in the plumbing system to go out is the original galvanized water piping.
Yep.
And it's the first thing we'll see go out. And then, it'll have to be updated with either copper or PEX. Right. And I would say probably most of them have probably already been updated now that we're in 2022. And they, it came out, it was primarily installed, the 70s and prior.
Yep.
So we see some sometimes, but yeah, definitely the galvanized water lines there, if there's any out there still, they're definitely at the end of their service lifespan.
Yeah. And I just thought of another problem I find with this stuff. So in some houses, we'll see what's called cross connections. So they'll connect new copper to this existing galvanized because they were only doing what's called spot repairs. So what that means is only a small section, or maybe it was a large section, of the galvanized failed. And then the plumber gave the homeowner the price to repipe the house. And they said, what? And they said, you know what? Well, why don't you just fix that one spot for now?
Right.
And then if it was an inexperienced plumber or just a hack, then he would just connect these directly together. And guess what? What does that cause? We just talked about that. Electrolysis. Same as here. If it's sitting on top of it, it's going to have the same effect as being attached to it.
Yes.
So what I typically see when this is done, if it's done correctly, is a piece of brass in between them.
Yes, it's supposed to be a 6-inch brass nipple of separation is the best way to do it.
So that's interesting because you got galvanized here, then you got brass, then you got copper. So if for some reason brass is the mediator.
Exactly. For whatever reason, the brass, it stops the electrolysis from traveling through and
that's interesting.
Rotting away the copper.
I wonder how they figured that out.
Yeah, she's...
Anybody know about that? Call me. I'm going to have you as a guest because I'd like to know how they eventually figured that out. So that's a common thing that's called a cross connection. If you're getting a home inspected, your home inspector may report, oh, there's cross connection. So that's what it means. It means you still have galvanized pipe in service and it's connected to a new piece of copper. That's not going to be a case with PEX.
Right.
It's just plastic. But I don't think I've seen PEX connected to this yet. Is that possible?
It's possible to do it. They make adapters where you can go from threaded pipe.
I don't think I've seen that yet.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll look for it.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it either. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So going back to the hangers, you got some examples of what you use.
Oh yeah, there's a variety of plastic hangers you can use, in a wall or under the house. We call this a Mickey Mouse hanger because it looks like Mickey Mouse a little bit with the ears. So that's a good way to, hang the pipe under the house, and it's just plastic. So there's not going to be any electrolysis happening. And then there's also just different hangers. We call this an isolator. We can drill a hole through like a wood stud and then put this in the hole,
right? And
then feed the pipe through. It gives it a real good bracing, maybe coming through the floor or or through a stud.
Sure.
So yeah, those are once you start using steel hangers, you want to be really careful protecting the pipe with additional protection. Felt is kind of the best, but they also make a plumber's tape, a 10 mil or 20 mil plumber's tape, wrap it around a couple times, and at least you did that for an added barrier.
I do see that. Now that you bring that up, I do remember seeing that where copper was right below this galvanized, and they actually put a separator in between the two of them.
Right.
And they could just chop that piece out and just been done with it. I don't understand the laziness going on today.
Right.
To me, it's just laziness. And these are decent sized crawl spaces where you can get around.
Right.
So it's not like it's hard.
Looking to save a couple minutes here or there.
Yeah. And the one thing too, I want to mention to home inspectors for sure is when you're looking at copper, it's not always turned in the direction where you can read the label.
Right.
So if you're under a house and you're on your back and you're looking up, what kind of pipe is that? And you can't see any color to it. There's no tag on it. Then you have to make a note, unable to determine type of copper. You don't want to leave there without identifying it. So if you can't identify it, you want to say it could not determine it because you just can't see the label.
Right.
There's no, you're not going to be able to tell if it's L or M unless you can see the color or a specific label on it.
Right.
So I see that a lot. I cannot identify pipe because I just do not see a label. It's just the way it was in, or the pipe was just poorly labeled.
Right.
I'm sure that happens too. It's not always stamped correctly.
Yeah, it could definitely happen.
So, okay. Any other thing you want to talk about with the clamps or any?
No, I just think, overall, the Type L copper with the blue is the higher quality, less likely to get pinhole leaks, much more rigid, longer lasting. And the Type M with the red is just the thinner material, which could be more susceptible to pitting and leaks and things like that.
Right.
So just to kind of sum that up.
So I recently just did a house in, God, where was that? It was in Palmdale. Pretty big house. In it, I did find Type M copper in several areas. So it just made me believe the whole house had Type M.
Right.
And I found a really, really hard leak to find just by using my thermal gun. Just in a courtesy scan with my thermal imaging gun, which is what I typically do on a second-story house when the ceilings, if there's any bathrooms above or, could be some kind of a pipe leak. And I found type M copper. Somebody made a hole below where the leak was, and somebody knew it was leaking.
Right.
And they made a hole, and they just never opened it up to fix it. It was in the garage, and I could see the stamp on it, clear as day, the red stamp, and then right next to it, I could see a bunch of pitting, and then on the other side of that, it was dripping. So it was actively leaking in the house, and I found 2 different spots that were actually leaking.
Right.
So I've actually witnessed it.
Yeah, you've witnessed that it wears out faster.
Yeah. There's another thing I want to point out too is pinhole leaks are so noisy, aren't they?
Not
No.
really.
Not really.
Yeah, they can be real quiet and
pinhole leaks. I've had some experience with pinhole leaks. I've literally walked up to a water heater before, and I'm just taking my pictures, hitting with my flashlight, just doing my thing, documenting the tank, the size, and just basically inspecting it. It took me about 5 minutes to realize that this pipe above the water heater was actually leaking.
Oh, I see.
It was a pinhole, and it was spraying in the opposite direction, and you can't hear it. It does not make a noise. Not the ones I've seen. Yeah. It does not make a noise. And then as I finally caught on to, I'm like, I saw a little moisture on the ground. I'm like, where's that coming from? And I really had to look to find this pinhole. It had to be so tiny, and it was spraying a wall like further to my right. I'm looking in this direction, and this pinhole was way over here, kind of at the side to the pipe, and it was going that way.
Yeah.
So I was not getting hit with any type of water. I wasn't getting any spray, and it was really interesting to find, like, holy shit, I could have easily walked away from that and not even known that was there if I didn't scope the other side of it. I'm just saying it's really quiet. And I found another one. In a house, and what caught my eye first was on the right side of the water heater, all I could see was mold. This is in someone's garage, and their washer and dryer was over here on the left. Water heater was here, and then there was a gap between the water heater and the exterior wall of the garage. And I'm like, why is that all black? I'm like, why is that wall black? And I'm like, holy shit, that's mold. It was everywhere. And I'm like, interesting. And then I started noticing a little bit of moisture. And then I looked up, and once again, a pinhole. You could not hear that pinhole at all.
Right.
I grabbed the homeowner who was actually living there, who was still at the house. I said, did you not notice this? Oh, yeah, we noticed that a couple months ago.
Oh, geez. Yeah, and a hot water leak can really, accelerate the growth of the mold a lot faster than cold water. That's one thing I learned from the water damage guys. When there's a hot water leak, it's a lot worse than versus cold water.
Interesting.
Yeah, for some reason the mold just grows way faster with the added temperature.
I've never heard that. I'm gonna have to call my boy in the mold department, see what he says about that. Yeah, I never heard that before. Interesting. And then I was under a house, big tall crawl space, easy to get around. Much older home, like 1920s or something. And I saw some water. I'm like, why is there water over there? I don't see anything leaking. I had to get right under this pinhole to see it. You could not see the mist, anything. It was barely noticeable. And I had my glasses on. So I'm like, I know I can see, and it was like, wow. So pinholes they're not loud. They're not noisy. And they're not going to give you a warning when they start. Right.
And then, long term, it can be, a tremendous amount of damage caused by, especially on a hot water line.
Exactly.
So very important to just slow down and kind of take a look at everything. Don't be in such a hurry.
Yeah. So to sum it all up, it all starts with the regulator.
Yeah, it all starts with the regulator, protecting the whole house. Keeping the pressure down is going to go a long way. And then making sure your copper, under the house or wherever you can see it doesn't have, isn't in contact with galvanized.
Yeah.
And, make sure there's not like old galvanized under the house too. And like you said, sometimes they do half and half. I see that a lot where they'll do copper underneath the house where it's accessible, but they didn't want to demo the walls or demo the shower, so they left the risers galvanized steel.
Yep, this will be in the walls for the showers.
Exactly, they never changed those out, so they're probably due to be changed out.
I do catch that a lot in a crawl space because I can see where that connection is most of the time when I'm in a crawl space, if there is a crawl space. I do call that out quite a bit, where I'll see the vertical runs inside going up, and I'm like, yeah, they upgraded your water supply pipe, but only probably 90% of it.
Right.
You still get stuff in the walls, and that's only because the homeowner didn't want to demo the bathroom. Like sometimes there's a shower, and the shower head typically has this still in place.
Right.
And then there may not be an accessible wall on the other side.
Right, they could be back-to-back shower and tub, where it would have to be some serious demolition to.
Yeah, we're talking taking demo and all your tile out of your shower. It's a big job, so that's why a lot of people just choose not to do that, and that's why a lot of times it's in the home inspection report that's only partially done.
Right, because eventually it will have to be done. They just didn't do it then.
Right, right. Okay, so Robert, let's talk about cross-linked polyethylene.
All right,
otherwise known as PEX pipe. Go for it.
Absolutely. So in PEX piping, there's the two most common versions. I would say there's PEX A.
Okay.
And a leading manufacturer of the PEX A is Upinar, is a very common brand I'll see. And how the PEX A is, in my opinion, the highest quality version and most common I see out there in the field. And how the PEX A works is, and what makes it different from PEX B, PEX A, it's an expansion system is used to connect the fittings to it. So how it works is, this is, you could see the PEX A there. I don't know if you can see the writing, but it says it on the side, PEX A. That's how you identify it if you're under a house or working on a job, stamped on it. And how it works is, we first take this is an expansion ring here, and we go ahead, and it only goes on one way. You can only get on one side of it because the other side's smaller. So we go ahead, we push this ring onto it there, and then we have this gun. This one's by Milwaukee and Upinar. And what happens is this metal part of the gun goes into the expansion ring, and we press it, and it's expanding the ring. And it's also rotating to get this guy expanded. And it's stretching it out for us. And then we take the gun away. We take our fitting, push it on all the way, and it's slowly compressing back to its original shape.
Dude, that is a really cool tool right there.
Yeah, no, pretty neat. So you can see how fast, just to do one joint was pretty quickly with the tool and the expansion ring. And now that's going to be watertight, up to, I think 100 PSI. I'll have to double check the tag for hot water, but even stronger PSI for cold water.
Wow.
So yeah, this is a very good system, very fast to install. So again, this is the PEX A system. Now, something very, important to understand is that the PEX A system, and here's an adapter, you could transition to copper with it. The PEX A system and the PEX B system, they run off of a different concept to connect the joints together. So this is the PEX A expansion. The PEX B system, you would not want to use the expansion tool on. It's not designed for that. So it has a different type of fitting, and how it works is it's kind of a simpler method, I guess you could say, or more basic method. You put this ring over the pipe first, this metal ring, then you put the fitting on like that. You slide the ring back over, and then there's a tool here. It looks like bolt cutters.
All right, I'll hold
you
this
might have
for
to
you.
support that. And this is kind of, they sell all this at Home Depot. It's more of like a handyman or homeowner version, kind of, in my opinion. Well, this particular version. and this goes over the ring there, and you go ahead and give it a squeeze, and that's it. So that's a joint there on the PEX B system. Now, yeah, something I've seen, once on a home inspection was whoever was doing the work, they mixed up the fittings. They had the B piping with the A system. So what happened in a scenario like that is it's an improper install. They're not interchangeable. Because
that fitting is brass.
Because the B piping is not designed to be expanded with the expansion tool.
Oh, so they use the expansion tool on the B.
Yeah, so they use the expansion tool on the B, and when I was there, I didn't see it leaking, but I knew right away something was off, and I saw it was PEX B. I realized they used the A fittings on the B system.
Got it.
So just something to keep an eye out for. If it's a PEX B pipe, you want to see these rings crimped around the outside of it, these metal rings. When it's a PEX A system, you want to see these expansion joints, these
the one
on the outside.
The one you just described that was wrong had the PEX B.
Yeah, they had the B,
but it had the A fitting.
Exactly.
And it had the A attachment.
Exactly. So they mixed up the two pipes. And I was actually surprised it wasn't leaking, but it's definitely not intended to be like that. And I let them know that it was wrong and probably.
So the B is the B just a cheaper version?
Yeah, the B is a less expensive, cheaper version. I would say it's, cheaper to install because you only. You need this inexpensive tool versus the electric version.
In other words, it's Type M of copper.
It's the
Type M of PEX.
Yeah, I would say exactly. It's the Type M of PEX. Yeah, I install a little bit of PEX from time to time, and I always go for the PEX A and the Upinar system.
Makes sense. I mean, I could even do that. I'm blessed. I just watched what you did. I'm in amazement because I've never seen anybody actually assemble this stuff.
Do you want to try one, John?
I could actually do it.
Here.
All right, I need to try one.
That's good there. And so what you want, you want to shove the tool and just pull the trigger until it kind of bottoms out all the way.
And it's going to do it 6 or 7 times?
You know what? It might be like 4 to 6 times range.
Okay. So I just push it and then just pull?
Push it.
Yep.
You give it a trigger squeeze. And just hold it. Do like one more. Okay, and then you can pull it out and go ahead and slide that in there and just hold it. Just hold it for a little, maybe 10, 15 seconds. Let it come back down.
Has anybody ever stuck their finger in there and couldn't get it out?
Not that I've heard of, but I think it's going to squeeze back down.
All you pranksters out there, don't try this. Probably crush your thumb if you put your thumb in there or something. Yeah.
So now you can say,
dude, I could plumb my house now. I'm serious. This is easy.
Yeah, no, it's not a whole lot to it.
Wow, I'm impressed. That is so easy.
Yeah, so it's definitely a pretty cool system. And the PEX it's less likely to get like a pinhole leak like you would see in copper, and there's going to be no electrolysis,
right?
Because it's a plastic.
Now this is not supposed to be exposed to the sun, right?
Correct. Yeah, I would not want it exposed to the sun. This is for under the house, in the attic,
in
inside
the
walls. Definitely not.
Now
exposed to the
there's
sun.
a fitting that we probably hadn't brought with us as a shark bite.
You know what? I think I do have one here.
Oh, great! Because I want to cover that because there's a mixed opinion about using these and where they should be used, and I'd like to point that out today.
This shark bite fitting I have here, this is for like a laundry hose bib here, and how shark bite works is it can work on copper or PEX. It can go on either materials, and it just has this push to connect fitting with a rubber O-ring inside and a bunch of teeth that kind of hold it in.
Okay.
So really what you want to do, you want you want to take a Sharpie and mark the pipe, make sure it's going in all the way before you do it. But just for just for example here, we'll show. So you go ahead and you push it in, and boom, it kind of sunk in about a half an inch approximately. And that's locked in. You could turn the water on.
That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do with a shark bite. Done deal. Now, shark bites, they are UPC approved, which is the Uniform Plumbing Code, which is the standard in California for plumbing installations. Now, me personally, I don't use these a whole lot. I can only use them in a special scenario where, other, soldering wouldn't work, or I have another system, a ProPress system, where that was too difficult to get that tool in place. But my advice on these fittings is, if you're going to install them, leave them in a place where they're, visually accessible in the future. Example, I would put it on, I would feel comfortable leaving it like on top of a water heater in a garage, or at the front of the house where all the piping's visible near the regulator in that area, or even underneath the house in a crawl space, where it's visible. I don't love, putting these like in a wall and then covering it with sheetrock forever and no one can see it anymore.
Right.
So I personally like to, be able to see it in the future. It just makes me feel a little better about it.
I'll tell you right now, I would not put that in my house.
I see.
I just saw what you did, and I'm like, no tools required? No, that scares me. Under pressurized pipe, I would not feel comfortable with that in my house.
Yeah, at first, I would say a lot of people would say that, but kind of, I guess once you use it, a handful of times, you get comfortable with it. And
just don't tell me you put it in my house. Don't tell me. I'll be sleeping.
We always go for the soldering and the ProPress first.
Yeah,
and this is kind of a last resort. And just sometimes you can get in a scenario where those other tools, it's just too tough to pull something off, and then the shark bites occasionally it'll really it'll save you in a certain scenario.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm impressed with this.
Yeah, the Upinar system.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah, no, it's a real cool system, and I'll use this as on tankless water heaters. If there's a recirculation pump and we run a recirculation line for it, I'll use the 3/4 inch PEX under the house to make a return loop. So
tell me, when you're installing this under a house, what is the required strapping for this? Because I never see this stuff strapped properly.
You know what? I would say about every 4 feet would be at least a good. It's pretty
reference.
Rigid. Actually, it is pretty rigid. Yeah,
it is rigid, so it's not going to sag unless it already has a bend in it.
And then when we strap it, we use these plastic straps. This is just a very simple plastic strap with a nail in it to nail it to the wood underneath the house, and it just snaps right in place right over the pipe like that. And we tack the nail in, and this way it's plastic on plastic. We don't want to use any metal plumber's tape on this either. You don't want metal touching plastic, rubbing long term. Maybe it could create an issue. So it is okay, obviously. So I just want to point out, I think it's pretty obvious, but I'll say it anyway, that it's okay to run this through a floor into the crawl space. You know what? It is okay. You definitely want to make sure you have stud guards on it to protect from someone driving a nail through in the future, a screw. Right. Kind of, I've done a couple of repipes where we've done PEX, and what we would do is we would run the PEX underneath the house in the crawl space, and then the risers coming up, we would put copper for the risers. That's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that because I almost forgot to bring that up. Good point. Sometimes I go into homes and I see PEX coming right through the wall for the toilet supply. Right. And it's all wobbly. I'm like, that ain't right. Yeah, it's not right. They make... is there a code for that? Is it? Yeah, it's supposed to be a rigid pipe kind of strapped coming out. Right. And they make a copper fitting. It's like a 90 where you could, if you wanted, you could connect the PEX in the wall. Okay. And then coming out of the wall, it's copper. And you're able to fasten that inside the wall. It has screw holes like a bracket. You could screw onto some wood, make it real rigid. But I would say another common way is like what I said, we'll put, copper piping in the wall just because it's stronger. If someone ever drives a nail through, We'll still put stud guards, of course,
Right.
but just a little more rigid in the wall. But then under the house where it's exposed, we'll put the PEX because you can see.
And
it.
I've seen hose bibs, copper coming out of the exterior wall of a house, and I'm going like this with it.
And it's just shaking.
It's moving back and forth, in and out. And then I get under the house and I could see.
I always get nervous, stuff like that, when I run into stuff like that too.
That they had the PEX connected to the copper, but they didn't have the copper mounted.
Right.
It was just loose. It was just a piece of pipe just sticking to the wall. They didn't mount it properly so that the PEX in that would just stay stable,
Yeah, you really want to go the extra mile to, strap stuff down good in those scenarios, because then the next guy, like you come along, John, is loose as a tooth, and you're thinking, what's going on? Or me, I'm working on something outside, and then it's the pipe shaking under the house, and you're like, oh no, now I got to see what's going on down there, make sure it's actually connected. So you're afraid when you turn the water back on when it's loose as a tooth under the house.
Yep. Yeah, that was a really good display of some interesting stuff. And when you said you can attach either one to copper,
yes.
So are you soldering that?
So what you would do, or we could talk about the open-R system first. Yeah, I would put in. Did you have a piece of copper here still, John?
Yeah, let me grab that.
What we would do, we would clean this, clean both ends, with sandpaper and a brush, and then put flux, put these together, like so, and then we would go ahead, we would solder this joint here. So this is brass, this is copper, so they would solder together, make it a leak free joint, and then when it cooled down, we wouldn't want to leave it hot. We'd give it a chance to cool down, and then we would. Take our piece of the expansion pipe, expand it with the ring, and then we would fit it on here. And now that's how we would transition to copper. So if it was coming down through a wall, then we could put a piece of PEX between the two there with the expansion rings and connect it under the house like that.
Got it. So, interesting. So how long does it take for that to cool down once you solder that?
I mean, if you're just letting it sit there alone, maybe like 5 minutes, something like that. It could take a little bit, but usually we let it sit for a minute and get a little impatient, put a wet rag on it, and clean it up. But just, it's good to let it cool a little bit naturally. You don't want to put water on it right away.
Interesting. And you said there is a way to fasten this to galvanized.
Yes. So they make all sorts of adapters for the PEX, like instead of having a solder joint on this side, they make one that would be like a male adapter, male iron pipe thread. So you could just go ahead and Teflon tape and pipe dope and screw that right into a galvanized fitting, and then you could put the expansion ring, the open-R system coming off of it. Okay. So yeah, they even have they have all sorts of fittings and like shark bite. You can connect shark bite on both sides if you want to use a shark bite coupling or 90. They also have Pro Press, where you could do a Pro Press copper, which is like a compression type of a newer tool. So you could do Pro Press on one side and then a PEX on the other. So there's a lot of different variations of things you can do for sure to adapt to.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's I learned a few things today. That's awesome. I also have a piece of Schedule 40 over
PVC.
there.
Yes.
Let's talk. Why don't you grab that? Let's talk about that.
Yes. So,
where would we use this in a house?
So when a lot of people think PVC piping, and me too, I think outdoor sprinkler systems, irrigation. So yeah, this is primarily used in a lot of outdoor sprinkler piping and such. But in this is Schedule 40 PVC, which is a pretty thick wall PVC pipe, maybe a little tough to tell. Yep. So it is a thick wall and pretty, relatively durable material when installed, with care. So this actually, it is approved in Los Angeles to run Schedule 40 PVC from the water meter to the house. So you could do a water service.
I've seen that.
From the water meter to the house. Generally, what you would want to do, I would probably transition to copper, before it comes out of the ground, just to make it like a little more rigid coming up, and so the sun's not hitting it. But I have seen it's coming out of the ground for like 6 inches, and they'll put a male adapter, then transition to like brass and then a copper.
Yep.
So I've seen that. So you are allowed to use this for a water main, water service from the meter to the house. And of course, less expensive than running copper pipe, way less expensive.
Now, would you say that that's across the board in Los Angeles as far as being able to use that?
I remember I checked like 5 years back, and I think it was LA City who was approved. I don't remember if it was LA County. Okay. I'd have to kind of check back.
When I see that, I make a note of that they should have a plumber determine whether or not that's allowed, because I just can't tell.
Right.
And remember, I can only see a little bit of it.
Right. A little piece maybe at the meter sticking and a little coming out of the ground.
Yeah. So.
And overall, it's a good product, but you're more likely to get a problem eventually from like a tree roots pushing it. If it's too close to a tree, the root could lift it and cause it to crack and leak. Or if, one day someone's trying to plant a tree in the front yard, they could break it with a shovel easier by accident. So really, copper, for that, from the water meter to the house is the best, just because it's very durable. And
yeah, that's something I always suggest, that they upgrade that. I'm not a big fan of seeing that going from, and once again, I know what pressurized means, and I know what it can do because I've seen the damage if it fails.
Right.
So I always go for the stronger, more reliable type of a pipe. But you know what? I see this stuff. I'm not saying it's always Schedule 40, but a lot of landscapers run it under the house.
Right. That's what I was going to
I point that out all the time. That's a no-no.
Right. So you're allowed to use this, underground from the meter to the house to service water to the house, but that's kind of where it stops. You're not supposed to use this to distribute water, under the house, getting from the front of the house to the back of the house. That should be copper, more rigid material.
Right. So you don't, for number one, you don't want this in your water supply system.
Exactly. You don't want this like under your house, feeding fixtures or feeding water to the water heater. You want that to be copper or PEX. Right. So this primarily you would see from the, the water meter to the front of the house. And then on the exterior, you would see it supplying sprinkler valves is fine for your outdoor irrigation. Right. But you really don't want to see this going under the house
for the irrigation,
for the irrigation in the backyard, or for hose bibs coming out or whatever. You don't really want to see this under the house.
I've seen some very creative plumbing from gardeners with that stuff.
I've seen it too.
Into the garage, over the garage door, down, outside again, and then they leave it exposed all the way across the yard.
Right.
Come on, guys. You're supposed to bury it, and it shouldn't be in the house in the first place.
Right, they try to run it under the house because now they don't have to break concrete or on the exterior or dig through the dirt or whatever. So I've seen it a lot too. Yeah. But it's technically not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a higher quality material under the house for sure. Right.
So what's your opinion on this type of irrigation pipe being regulated?
So the piping itself is very strong. It says right here it can handle 480 psi at 73 degrees Fahrenheit. But really, you're not going to see those types of pressure. You're going to usually see like 125, 150, 175.
What about the fixtures attached to it?
But yes, so where we get the trouble is the sprinkler valves. Inside of these valves, it's like a rubber diaphragm and rubber washers that hold back the high pressure. So what happens is a lot of these sprinkler valves on the top of them, they'll say they can handle 150 psi. Sometimes the plastic ones even say that, and don't believe it. It's not true. So if you're going to have no regulator, the best sprinkler valves you could have are the all brass ones. They do the best in my opinion at holding back the higher pressure. But really, if you have high water pressure, over 100 psi, you're going to want to get a pressure regulator on your irrigation. And the reason is, especially with the plastic, cheaper sprinkler valves, the high pressure, it's going to cause issues with those valves. It's going to end up, the valves are going to end up leaking and water passing through when you don't want them. And you're going to get a high water bill, and things are going to, and they're a lot noisier too. Things are going to end up happening.
Yeah.
So you definitely,
that's a good point. Yep.
Yeah. High pressure.
It's no different than the pressure on faucets and fixtures in a house. They're going to have their limitations depending on why they're made.
Exactly. Another interesting thing I learned about, too much high pressure going to your sprinkler system is that, when the sprinklers themselves turn on, when the pressure is like extreme, Bam! Like 125, 150 pounds, it shoots a fine mist coming out of the sprinkler heads. Like a real fine mist is coming out because of the high pressure.
Yeah.
And the wind catches it and it just blows it into the street, onto the sidewalk, onto your car.
Oh, that's a good point.
But at a lower pressure, like 65 pounds, 65 to 80 pound range, it lets out larger droplets of water that are heavier, and they fall to the ground like where the grass is, like they're supposed to. And they're not getting caught in the wind, blown away. So just
that's good input, man. Thanks for that. Yeah,
kind of a lot.
Landscapers, you guys getting all this? Because I'm telling you, man, a lot of you guys don't do a good job on your landscaping with these pipes. I see it just messes with these all the time.
Yeah, no, you'll notice if the sprinklers are running at like 80 psi, it's a real nice system. But when the pressure gets too high, it just something looks off.
Yeah, regulate your water, everybody. That's the takeaway from today. Regulate all your pressurized water.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Robert, I think we covered it, man. I think we're good. We stuck to the a good episode of water supply pipe, and I like it.
Cool.
I think we should just leave it right there. Once again, how do people find you in the Los Angeles area if they want to find you?
Yeah, so my company is Robert Deyl Plumbing, and my phone number is 818-606-4351, and I also have a website, robertdaylplumbing.com.
All right, Robert Deyl. That was a great. Thanks for letting me play with the power tools, man.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm happy to let you try that.
My other guests do not bring toys for me. You're the first one to bring me a toy to play with.
Oh no, and I got some more stuff.
I might repipe the house today. That was actually pretty cool. But before we go, one last thing I got to tell you. I have a running toilet that you need to go catch.
Okay. Have you tried to trip it?
I actually have a running toilet, and I don't feel like fixing it. I don't want to mess with it. I'm too busy. I got too much other shit to do. And Robert is now going to get downstairs and fix my toilet.
Absolutely.
Because he's the man. He's the man. And thanks for coming on the show again.
All right, my pleasure. No, thanks for having me again.
I want to let everybody know Robert was on episode 4, which was way back in September of 21 when I first started my podcast. And we talked about the importance of sewer camera inspections on any type of property, because you never know what you're going to find. So check out that podcast as well. And see you on the next one.
Oh, sounds good, John. Thanks.
I'll see you under a house somewhere eventually. All right, man. Take care.